Hello. Right, this is Sarah from I Am Simple Natural Life. If you are new to my channel, then hello, welcome. Excited to have you here. If you've seen my other videos, then well done for sitting through those. Excellent work. If you haven't seen my other videos, then take a look. The channel's quite new, so I am just in the process of trying to kind of build up your knowledge about what the channel is and why it's important and what things that can help you in your life. And so the last video I did was talking about what actually is a natural life. What does that even mean? So I hope you've had a look at that. And if you haven't, do go and have a look. But you don't need to have seen that to see this bit. You can do that afterwards. Don't go anywhere. Today I am talking about the number one thing that accelerated my growth within the living a natural life, within living in natural alignment. I feel like I need a drum, you know, like a bit of a drum roll, like that. Number one thing, and it wasn't, I'm not talking about, you know, my number one thing was to stop buying water in plastic bottles, or my number one thing was to rip out the central heating and, or rip the whole house down and live in the wild. Didn't do that either. My number one thing that accelerated my my steps towards living a more naturally aligned life was self-care. Have I let you down? You're disappointed, aren't you? You felt it was going to be something huge. But it actually was huge, and so small at the same time. So I, for many years, in fact, can't really remember a time when I wasn't interested in it. I've always been interested in the environment and kind of like a mainstream life, but in a slightly different way. So a little bit weird. So I was an early adopter of like menstrual cup, and what else? I don't know. I can even remember being really young. Do you remember, like in the 90s, if you were around in the 90s, do you remember like they had, or was it the 80s? Anyway, they had like, must have been the 80s. They had these magnet things, you know, you got them, and then everyone was testing out their cans to see if they were like aluminium, and whether they could be recycled or not. Do you remember that? So that was a huge thing in my life, but not as huge as self-care. So I have, through my life, made changes, and people's progress will always kind of, you know, go a bit like this and maybe go a bit down at times and up. And but from the time I started the self-care, my progress has been pretty steady. Not completely steady, but pretty steady. Some things have knocked it off track, like COVID lockdown. But you know, overall, it's been pretty steady, and it is from this time that I have taken for self-care. Now, before we start, you will be thinking, oh, God, all this bloody self-care stuff. Like, all I hear about is I should be doing an hour of yoga, sitting in a tree, and I should be doing, I don't know, eating dandelions and singing Kumbaya or whatever. I'm not talking about that, and that was not my life, and it still is not my life, okay? I had 4 children under the age of 3.5. Still have those 4 children. They're just a little bit older, but not much. The youngest is 7. And the older, I keep saying, oh, it's so annoying. Sorry. The eldest one is 11 now. She's just turned 11. And she's disabled. Profoundly disabled, and she is operating, she's not even at a toddler level, okay? So although they are kind of getting older, it's not like I've got tons of time on my hand. You know, I've still got the 4 of them. They're all youngish, they're all at home, and I've got the disability on top of that. Now, I'm just telling you that so you've got some background, so you know that I'm not, you know, I haven't got a nanny or a cleaner. I need a cleaner. Anyway, but I don't have these things. There's just me, and I do have my husband. But you know, I'm just a normal person, but I have started to prioritize a bit of self-care. Now, when I started maybe a couple of years ago, let's say, before, I just thought, I do not have time for this in my life. I do not. And I started with drinking water. It was really that simple. I have a bottle, in fact, it's just down there, a litre bottle, and I make sure I drink 2 of those every day. And that was the start of my self-care journey. Really simple. And it took me a while to stick to that. It did take a while. And I really had some barriers to it. You know, my subconscious was thinking, oh no, we don't normally do this. We don't normally drink lots of water. So not sure that's safe for us. And I had to really work through that. And in doing that, you then become a bit more aware of what's going on in your subconscious. And then making more changes suddenly becomes a little bit easier. So I did the water. And then I found a bit of sort of online yoga stuff. I think this was the next thing I did. I should have worked this out really before starting to record this, but we just go with it. Now, the self-care yoga stuff, not self-care yoga, just yoga, because there is specific self-care yoga and then there is yoga. I just did stuff in my pajamas. I'd get up in the morning. I'd have, my disabled daughter is a rubbish sleeper. That's a whole different thing. Not even talking about that. But she gets up very early, and I give up and we go and sit downstairs. So instead of just sitting there and like slumping in front of the telly, just wishing the morning to be over, I started to roll out my yoga mat at the other end of the room. She would sit using her iPad because that's what she does. She loves that. And I would do a bit of yoga at the other end of the room. Sometimes she'd come and helpfully sit in the middle of my mat, or, you know, poke my bum, all those sort of annoying things that children might like to do. But I ploughed on. I did it the best I could. Usually, and even still, during a yoga session, I will have to get up and get her some Weetabix, and then a bit later other brands of cereal are available. So I'd have to do all this kind of stuff. You know, it's not, I don't have my Lululemon things on and looking all perfect with my little sweatband and just doing my Jane Fonda or whatever. It is real life. I have to, you know, a 20-minute yoga could take me more than half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever. But I kept going, and now the kids just kind of ignore me really, apart from having to stop to get the cereal or another drink, stuff like that. They're really not that interested in the fact that, you know, I'm doing a bloody downward dog in the middle of the lounge. So it just took a bit of perseverance. And then I've done lots of other stuff since then, and I won't really bore you with that. The reason I'm telling you about it in the first place is because it was taking this time for myself is what, now I look back, that is what kickstarted my most brilliant progress within living a more naturally aligned life. And I think it's because of a number of things. I think it's just taking the time for yourself. And if you are a mum especially, but you know, I'm talking to you dads as well, and even people without children, other things take over, work, kids, whatever, life. And it's really hard to prioritize yourself. But when you do start prioritizing yourself, and then you will start to, your brain just has a bit more time to start to think about things. And that then starts to bring the benefits that you will see when you're trying to kind of change up the disconnect that you might be feeling and live a little bit more in a natural alignment and what feels good to you. So I hope that helps. I'm still saying I'm going to have to train myself out of it, but I'm sorry about that. I hope it helps even with my ums. I should do them like a yoga shouldn't I? But I don't. It really was. It's so simple, and I feel like I can't portray, just whilst it is simple, just how powerful making these changes will be. So just whatever it is, breath work, yoga, even like going for a run, doing a HIIT exercise, or just start with the water. Just start with the water. That's all you have to do. Drink your water and see what comes from there, because it really has changed up everything. So that is my number one tip, and I will be back another time to give you some more tips and more ums. See you soon.